Coming up on News Watch in Focus, we'll take a look at what made headlines this week in East Central Illinois. Then we'll talk to the Mattoon Fire Department all about their new training facility and what it means for firefighters and citizens. Stay tuned. News Watch in Focus starts now. Welcome and thanks for joining us for News Watch in Focus. I'm your host, Kate Pleasant. News Watch in Focus takes an in-depth look at the latest news stories from the greater Mattoon and Charleston area, as well as those surrounding it each week. First, let's take a look at what made headlines on WEIU News Watch this week. School is out, and with young adults seemingly not having enough to do, police say they're resorting to vandalism. Mattoon parks have gone from G-rated to being riddled with X-rated paint, and parents and guardians say they hope the vulgar words painted on various structures won't have a lasting effect on their children.
Summer has just started, and families in Mattoon are heading out to enjoy the warm weather at local parks.
We spend a lot of time here. Like I said, they have something for each age group.
But as children crawl through slides and climb on ladders, parents are worried about the vandalism found on the very playgrounds their children enjoy playing on.
My children can read. My 2-year-old can read, so it's very sad when we come to the park and she says, "Mommy, look what that says." You know, it's very sad. I do think it's important to clean up our parks in Mattoon.
Beck brings her 2-year-old daughter Peyton to Lawson Park in Mattoon a few times a week. She says that young adults are usually the ones engraving vulgar messages on parks or throwing trash around.
I want it to be clean.
Mattoon Public Works Director Dean Barber says the department is working tirelessly to clean up every bit of graffiti they can find.
We try and get it cleaned up as quickly as possible. Really the biggest impact is on the production level for our guys.
Barber says vandalism is common around this time of year because many young adults are out of school. But he says this year there has been an increase in the amount of graffiti being found.
Issue right now is just the sheer volume. It's not unusual for us to have somebody come in and write some slur about the girl that sits next to him in class.
Barber says vandalism usually happens at night when no one is around. But some new software may help discourage juveniles from marking up local parks.
Things that we've talked about doing is putting up security cameras in the parks as a deterrence to graffiti and vandalism in general.
Mattoon Public Works Director Dean Barber told me that the paint has all been scrubbed off and it's back to business as usual. He also said the Mattoon Police Department already has the software to install security cameras. These cameras are likely to be put in within the next 5 years. And as we just heard, keeping kids occupied and out of trouble in the summer can be challenging. But one community is offering a unique program that aims to help. The city of Effingham is offering a program in which any kid of any age can choose from hundreds of programs offered at the library, the Parks District, and the Town Rec Center. The program is called Mission Summer Fun, and it provides free activities for kids as well as free transportation to those activities. Kids can participate in library reading programs, park games and crafts, transportation events, and even free lunches at the West Side School. Those who want to participate don't need a library card. And Coles County Crime Stoppers is asking for help in finding the area's most wanted. Sheriff's deputies are looking for 20-year-old Justino Bautista, wanted on 2 warrants for felony forgery. Authorities also want to question him about a burglary case. If you have any information regarding Bautista, contact Crime Stoppers. And the price of cigarettes has been going up for years, and sometime this June we could see another increase. The House and Senate both approved a measure that more than doubles the tax on cigarettes to $1.98. The tax increase has some smokers fired up.
It was a lot easier when it was under $1 a pack.
I can remember when they was less than $1.
But how things have changed. June 30th marks 5 years of business for Marvin Murrick, owner of Indigo Cigar Factory in Charleston. But if the proposed legislation to raise the tax of tobacco is passed, his business could be in jeopardy of surviving another year.
It'll affect me a lot. I'll have to probably lose some customers over it. People will quit.
Because there are only few alternatives to smoking.
Internet, 2 clicks of the button and you can get a carton of cigarettes to your house out of state.
And those options aren't what some smokers want to hear. But for Vernon Folk, quitting might be the only alternative.
I'm going to be a real jerk for about 2 months because I'm going to have to quit smoking because I can't afford it anymore, especially with them keeping on raising the prices.
As they get into the cigars and the pipe tobaccos, that will devastate me, yes.
The increase is supposed to raise more than $300 million a year to help with the Medicaid budget problem. The legislation now awaits approval from the governor, who supports the idea. Another issue lawmakers are looking into in Springfield during the legislative session is prison overcrowding. An Illinois House committee has voted to approve early release for prison inmates who have good behavior. Lawmakers say it'll help the state avoid legal trouble over a severely crowded system. State prisons are housing 14,000 more inmates than they were designed to hold. A former Sullivan school nurse is headed to prison. Last November, 38-year-old Amber Elder was arrested for misusing a student's medication. Elder was sentenced to 3 years in jail this week with 1 year of mandatory supervision. Elder pleaded guilty in April to distributing a look-alike substance and endangering the life of a child. But moving on to some good news, Illinoisans who make a difference in their communities could be honored during this year's Illinois State Fair. The Illinois State Fair Foundation is currently asking for nominations. Winners will be announced in July. More information is available at statefairmuseum.org. And the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers needs your help during the National Trails Day event at Lake Shelbyville on June 9th. The Corps is looking for volunteers to help pick up litter, identify trees and help install signs, trim brush, and a variety of other tasks. More information is available by contacting the Army Corps of Engineers. And finally tonight, the Mattoon Fire Department just finished construction on their new fire training facility. We'll talk to fire department officials in just a moment more about what that means for firefighters and citizens. But first, here's a look at the coverage from the News Watch team.
After months of planning, Mattoon has started construction on their state-of-the-art training facility, but this one is a bit unique.
News Watch's Andrew Benson shows us how a few shipping containers can help train firefighters to save lives.
Without a training facility for more than a year, the Mattoon Fire Department had to get creative when training for emergencies. Those days of having to improvise are over.
And like I said, it's light years ahead of what we had before. I mean, you're going to a specific building designed for your needs, and we were practicing in an abandoned brick building. So you can imagine all the differences between the two.
American Fire Training Systems designed the new building made out of shipping containers, making it durable and economical.
There's no way the city would have been able to afford to build a burn tower construction-wise. We're probably talking over $1 million to build something like that. Whereas, this structure here is probably just the building itself is going to come in at about $185,000.
The total cost of the new facility is about $190,000, and it was paid for with capital improvement funds. The facility will mean firefighters won't have to travel for training. They'll be able to learn right here at home.
Hopefully, with having this facility here, we'll be able to host training facilities or training classes here. The Illinois Fire Service Institute offers what they call a cornerstone program, where if you get 20 or more people that'll come and take a class, they'll put it on for free.
We're going to be able to train better, and we'll be more efficient at our jobs because we have this new addition.
In Mattoon, I'm Andrew Benson for WEIU News Watch.
Wonder where we get our story inspirations from? Make sure to tune in to News Watch every weeknight at 5:30 right here on WEIU to find out. News Watch in Focus takes a local story from the week that was featured on News Watch and goes more in depth. For more local news, weather, and sports, tune in to News Watch every weeknight at 5:30. And we're back with Anthony Nichols, the Mattoon Fire Chief. Thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And we're, of course, talking about the new fire training facility that Mattoon has just put up. And can you tell me a little bit about the facility, some of the specifics?
Yes, ma'am. It's the cargo shipping container type structures that the fire service has kind of gone to over the last 2, 3, 4 years. It's more cost effective than building a facility of concrete and fireproof. So it's basically 6 shipping containers. We've got 5 that run parallel to the ground, and we have one that stands vertical, that's 40 foot tall, that we can rappel off of. It's got a burn room constructed in it, so we can actually do live burns. It's got stairways in it. We're going to construct movable walls so we can change stuff up. Just a real nice facility.
Okay, so is this something kind of unique compared to some of the other training facilities you might see around the area?
You know, it probably was a few years ago, but I think more and more departments are going to these just because of the money aspect. But it's a nice training facility. You know, we can change things up. It has a burn room. We can do high angle rescues. We can do confined space. So it is a little unique.
Okay. And where, for those who may not be familiar with it, where is it located?
We are actually located out by the wastewater treatment plant. There in Mattoon off of 5th Street. It's back here. It's a secure area, so like the public's not going to have real good access to it. And you know, the wastewater treatment plant is locked up after I think 4 o'clock in the evening. So it's not going to be out, you know, in the middle of Broadway and where people are going to be seeing us train all the time. So
right. And since this is a new facility, that must mean that there had to be training done before this facility. So what was that like?
Yeah, it's been kind of brutal the last couple of years. We've just kind of had to hodgepodge stuff together. You know, if the city had a structure that was going to be demoed, we could get in, and after the utilities were shut off, we could get in and train for a week, and then the city would go in and continue with the demo. We rappelled off the water tower. We worked off of City Hall. We worked out of the annex. You know, we'd shut the lights off to do our SCBA training. You know, we just kind of did what we could for the last couple of years until we had enough money to get the facility built.
Okay, and so that's kind of the issue then, the money. So is that why it's now instead of 3 years ago or 3 years from now? The money's right now?
Yes, when I took over in 2009 as chief, the budget situation was really tight, really dire. And with the sale of the land, the fire department and the police department both lost structures. And that money was used to balance the budget at the time. So just over the last couple of years, you know, we've just been persistent and tried to find ways to find funding and to get it back in the budget. And we were able to do that this year. We got it put back in the capital fund. It's can't wait to get it start using it.
Okay, and since we're talking about funding, how was this funded?
It was in the annual budget in the capital improvement fund.
Okay, and so is there any idea of the cost on this? Is it?
Yeah, the actual structure itself went out for bids, and I believe there's only 3 companies that do this type of structures right now, and one's on the West Coast, one's on the East Coast, and then there's one in Chicago.
Well, that's good
for us. We were able to, we went out for bids, and we only received one company, and that was the company from Chicago, and the bid came in just a little bit under $180,000.
Okay.
Public Works installed a hydrant for us, so we've got water supply right there. We had to pour some concrete and do some rock work and some site prep work. So we'll be somewhere 185 to 189,000, somewhere in there.
Okay. And why is a structure like this necessary? I mean, it's obviously for training, but can you talk a little more about that?
Yeah, you know, we're mandated by the state to do quarterly night burns. We'll be able to maintain that now. It'll let us create more real-time situations, you know. Doing high-angle rescue, we've got windows that we can do window picks off of. We can, you know, put furniture in there, light off the burn room and smoke up the whole structure, do our SCBA training, confined space training. It's, you know, there's just going to be more real-life situations that we can create, which will make our firefighters, you know, continue with that training and stay sharp and professional and ready to go.
Okay, and it also obviously allows for a lot of variety of situations all in one place, which maybe you didn't have that before, as you were saying. So, okay, and when you're talking about doing burns, you know, in the burn room, what's kind of the process for that? What's that like in the training?
Yeah, what we'll do, we'll have Obviously, we'll have an incident commander. We'll have a safety guy that'll have the little notebook that we'll be able to maintain visual of what the temperature is in that burn room. You go in and there's a burn rack that we're going to construct that we'll load with like pallets and straw. We'll go in and light that off and let it smolder for a while. It'll be wet, so it'll get off that dark black smoke. Fill up the whole structure, you know, and then we can rearrange the walls, different scenarios each time, so it's not constant, the same thing over and over.
Right.
You know, and then we'll say, hey, we've got a man down on, go in and find them, you know, put the fire out, do ventilation. We can do forcible entry. You know, however our training guys want to set up the scenario for that day, the options are going to be there.
Okay. And so there's technology involved with that, correct? You said that there will be somebody be able to monitor the temperature. Is that done through a software or?
Yes, what it is in the actual burn room, there's temperature probes, low, medium, and high in the room that'll give us a digital readout on our little notebook that came with it that will tell us how hot it is getting in the room. And then if it gets too hot, there's measures in place that where we can pop vents to let the heat out to cool it off rather quickly.
Okay. And do other towns kind of like Mattoon or in this area have facilities like this?
Well, I know Charleston Fire has one. We visited 2 or 3 other fire departments when we were going through the process to get ideas. I know we went to Belleville, we went to Mattoon, and the other place escapes me at this point, but you know, we traveled around to look at them. Doug Dotson and myself drove up to Chicago to meet with the manufacturer up there, and of course they had, you know, pictures and ideas and diagrams, and so yeah.
So you've done your homework and
yes,
kind of found facilities that are kind of like this and that you liked.
We've had 2 years to research it.
Okay, well, you're getting the funding in place. That was a good thing to do at the time. So what was the construction of this facility like? What was the process like, I guess?
The American Fire Training Systems out of Lockport did the construction on site up there of each particular can, and then the actual install date was supposed to be on May 14th.
Okay.
But the galvanized plant burned to the ground up there in Joliet like the week before that.
Wow.
So all of our galvanizing material was at that plant.
Kind of ironic.
So it pushed us back a couple weeks. But basically, once they got all their stuff together, they started hauling all the stuff down over a period of about a week and a half. Once they got everything on site, they sent a crew down. Howe Asphalt donated the crane, and then we had to, with state statute and all that, we had to pay prevailing wages to the operator and the supervisor. They came in, they projected 10 hours to set all the cans and weld them together and get them in place. I think they did it in 7. Once they did that, the crane was done, they left, and then the American Fire Training crew stayed there, I think, until yesterday about 3 o'clock.
Okay, so this was literally just finished yesterday?
Yes.
Okay, and you're still waiting on a couple pieces? You said
couple of the technical pieces didn't arrive yet, should be in next week.
Okay, so these aren't small structures that we're talking about, because you said one's 40 feet tall you can rappel off of, so obviously these are not little cargo containers.
They are 40 foot long and 8.5 foot wide.
Okay.
And 8.5 foot tall.
Okay. And so can you tell us about how this is going to benefit the community? I mean, besides the obvious benefits for the firefighters, how does that kind of spill over to the community?
It's just they can rest assured that the guys will be trained. They'll be ready to go. It's going to keep them tip-top shape and be ready for that, God forbid, 12 a.m. fire that happens in the middle of the night with weekly training, daily training. It just becomes second nature and they'll know what to do. It's going to hopefully make the citizens of Mattoon feel safer and secure.
Okay. And when you're doing training like this, is there any specific training that you do specific to buildings or situations that could be happening in Mattoon that other cities might not do?
We can drive through town. If we see something that is unique, we can simulate it out there for as much as we can. You know, we obviously can't change roof lines
Right.
and stuff like that, but we can lay that out in the scenario and say, hey, this is what we've got. Go in and take care of it.
Okay. And so this facility's on the ground. It's almost ready to go. When do you foresee it going into use?
We are going to probably shoot for June 11th that week, as long as the temperature probes in the notebook shows up, and then our training guys get training on that and how to use it, because we definitely want to make sure we have all our safety measures in place.
Okay. And so how often does this facility need maintained? Are there things that need done?
You know, I don't think so. That's why we went with this type of structure. It's steel structure, everything in it. You know, we've got galvanized steel, concrete around it. You know, maybe in 10, 12, 15 years it may need some paint. But other than that, you know, it's a state-of-the-art facility and should serve the citizens and the fire department for quite a while.
Okay, so there's no really spillover onto the taxpayers or really onto the city for as far as yearly maintenance goes or anything?
No,
like that?
not that I'm aware of. You know, obviously this is new to us, and from other people that we talk to, the yearly fees that we have to buy, we'll have to buy some straw, and sometimes farmers donate that to us, and then we'll you know, may have to purchase pallets once in a while, but a lot of times we get those donated to us also.
Okay, when you're training, you know, in a town like this, is it different from training in an urban setting? I mean, because obviously Mattoon's rural, so.
You know, it's definitely different than some of the rural volunteers, because, you know, we have a piped water supply system. We have hydrants where they rely off of drafting out of ponds, lakes, and creeks and rivers with tankers and stuff, which I think that's really the biggest difference. Other, you know, than we have manpower in the station ready to go.
Right.
Whereas, you know, rural volunteers are volunteers, and they're at work and they have to respond from work. So those are the two main differences, I think.
Okay. And has there been any reaction from the community that you've heard so far about this facility?
I really haven't.
Not yet, huh?
No, I've not heard a word. And it's one of those things, you know, it's off the beaten path. A lot of people probably don't even know that it's going on, you know, other than when we were going through the budget process. And then an article in, I think yesterday's paper maybe, is the only time it's really been out there. So it's probably still too early to tell on that.
So that may be coming down the line later. And what about the reaction from the firefighters? I mean, are these guys excited?
Yes, they are. You know, they like to train, they like to get out there and get dirty. It's really been rough the last couple of years trying to come up with scenarios and places to train. So they're ready to go. And
I know you haven't had it very long, but can you foresee anything that's going to be, you know, somebody's favorite part or the best thing about this facility? Or
well, the favorite thing, I'm pretty positive, will probably be the actual fire training, you know, putting the wet stuff on the red stuff, so it's one of the sayings go. And then the other one will probably be the high angle rappelling. Most of the guys really enjoyed getting up there and rappelling off of the top of things. So
I don't think I would enjoy that, but I'm glad that you guys do. So, and do you foresee this as being something that, you know, other area fire departments or volunteers might be able to utilize somewhere down the road?
You know, that's my goal, is to open it up to law enforcement, volunteer agencies, but that, you know, really haven't taken that to legal and the city forefathers in Mattoon. Ultimately, that'll be their decision. But I'm pretty sure, as long as insurance-wise and liability reasons, I'm sure that'll probably happen. Okay, and we talked about, you know, the community and the citizens. I assume the city was behind this as well. Yes, you know, I'm pretty sure it was unanimous when it went through the budget process. They all, you know, they're all in support of getting this and making sure that their fire department, because it's actually their fire department, you know, they want us to be trained and ready to go when they're needed. Okay. Well, we thank Anthony Nichols, the Mattoon Fire Chief, for bringing this issue into focus for us, and that's all the time we have for this week. But we hope you'll stay tuned next for the Four Rivers Ag Report with Fred Peralta. Thanks for watching News Watch in Focus. I'm your host, Kate Pleasant. Have a good day. Thanks for tuning in to News Watch in Focus. Is there a news story happening in your community? Let us know about it. You can email our newsroom at news@weiu.net. Call us at 581-2911
or write to us at 600 Lincoln Avenue, Charleston, Illinois 61920. Your story could be featured on News Watch or right here on this show, News Watch in Focus. For more news all the time, visit our website at WEIU.net. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching News Watch in Focus. Did you know full episodes of our show are available on YouTube? Go to www.youtube.com/WEIU-TV and click on the News Watch in Focus playlist. Each week we'll put a new episode of News Watch in Focus online. For more information and news, visit our website at WEIU.net 24 hours a day.